All right. Happy Monday evening. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to go ahead and get things started here. Just going to go over, some of the things that are happening in digital assets and macroeconomics, and then we will get into the questions. So looks like old Gare Bear is going to be on the news tomorrow morning. I don't know what he's going to have to say. They had another Wells notice that they served Robinhood this morning for selling unregistered securities. They are a broker dealer. They have a securities license. Obviously, there's disclosures that they have to make to the investors on their platform. And if crypto, they're not making those disclosures and they don't have that stuff in place, then there could be problems there. People could be investing in things without knowing the risks associated with them, which I think people do. But you've also got the hack that happened back in January on January 9th, where they announced that the ETFs were going to go live the day before they went live. Apparently they had a third-party audit firm come in November or December and check out their systems, and they basically told them that they could be compromised, and then they didn't do anything about it. So is Gary stepping down tomorrow morning? I know that's what a lot of people are hoping for. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not. But it'll be interesting to see what he says. We did get some late news on the Ripple case this evening. If you guys don't follow James A. Flanagan over there on Twitter, I would highly recommend that you do. He always puts stuff out, as soon as stuff's filed. Basically, they filed a redacted version of settlement terms or what's going to happen with all of the evidence. Anyway, I don't know the full scoop of it, but I know it's redacted. They're going to meet tomorrow with Ripple and any of the third parties about what else needs to be redacted. And then on the 8th, they will release the redacted version of what was filed today for the judge. So hopefully that's coming to an end here soon. The dates for what he put out were all the way out to May 20th. I kind of expect the judge to rule hopefully sooner than that. We'll see. If Torres or Netburn, decide that they're going to go ahead and give a ruling on the case, hoping that we get some type of precedent for how people are supposed to come to market. And then also, kind of an ending on what the fines are going to be for Ripple. We know they're going to be somewhere between 10 million and 2 billion, which is a very large spread. I don't think they're going to be very far in excess of maybe 10 million. I could be wrong about that. Jeremy Hogan thinks that they're going to be closer to 100 million. He very well might be right. We'll have to see, what kind of shakes out with all of that. But Coinbase, there's some other things going on there. They've got two different filings that they made. I do think that they probably end up having to be a registered broker-dealer to be able to transact the way that they are. I asked Paul that last year at CoinAlts in San Francisco when he was there. He's their chief legal counsel, and he kind of sidestepped that question when I asked him if he thought that they needed to be a registered broker-dealer. I think they know that they do. And I think that's the long-term vision for Coinbase also. Maybe they get acquired by somebody else. They are public companies at this point. Their valuation is pretty significant. So it'd have to be a really big player that stepped in and made that acquisition if that does happen. But it's not out of the scope of, a possibility. So we'll have to see how all those things play out. But super bullish, like I have been for a long time on XRP in particular. Go ahead and hop into the questions here and run through, anything's fair game. If you guys want to talk about tax mitigation, estate planning, what to do post-liquidity event, pre-liquidity event, how to set yourself up. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Atlantic Living is first one at bat here. Appreciate you joining as always. They've asked, would you recommend taking crypto profits once everything gets going in the fall? She's praying hands. And paying off mortgage loans, vehicles before doing anything else. Everybody's different. I'll say that. So there's no wrong or right way to go about managing your wealth. I mean, there's obviously things that can be better done than others. Again, I'll just, this is how I think through this stuff. What are my interest rates on my loans? If I got a home loan and it's locked in at a fixed mortgage at like 3%, no, I'm not paying off my house. I'm just going to make the minimum payment on that bad boy as long as I can. Almost free money at 3% interest on the home loan. Like it's highly unlikely that we'll ever see that again in our lifetime. Right. So if you're locked in at 3% mortgage or less, milk that puppy as long as you can would be my choice. Again, if your quality of life is affected by that debt, and you wake up and you have this heaviness on you because you feel as though like that debt's hanging over you, pay it off. If it improves your quality of life and reduces stress and allows you to live longer and more comfortably, pay it off. I would probably go about it a little different. Maybe I do want to pay it off, but again, the vehicle or the home, I would probably purchase an asset that created cash flows that allowed me to service that debt plus some every single month. So if I'm going to cash some crypto out, I'm going to be looking to, purchase maybe a multifamily property or some car washes or another business or some dividend paying stocks, or I'm going to do something with it that produces cash flows, irrespective of me having to work, invested in something, and then take the money, the payments that are coming off of that, and pay for my lifestyle. So that would include home and vehicles. That would be my preference. That's the way I think about that. But again, if let's say you have crazy high interest rates on things, it definitely could make sense to pay those off. Let's say you have bad credit and you've got a tote the note on your car that's like crazy high interest that you pay week to week, and you got you purchased the home, but it's through like a owner finance, and they owner financed it at like 15% or something crazy. Yeah. Okay. Those circumstances, I could see paying those things off. But if you have regular, interest rate loans, if anything's less than 5%, I'm probably going to milk it and put that money to work somewhere else to be able to pay a yield higher than that. And then, be able to service the debt plus some with the monthly payments I'm going to be getting from that. So just my 2 cents. Again, no wrong or right answer, but that's what I'll be doing. Let's see here. Robin says she needs some hopium. I hope I can give you some hopium. I'm in a good mood about it. Every day is a good day to buy, if it's under $1. So you're going to look back and you're going to thank God for all the time that you had to buy. There's a lot of people that I don't think realize that on a lot of these digital assets. So Verano TV says, I would like to tokenize a real estate fund for a few projects. Is that something your company can help set up? Depends on the type of fund that you'd be tokenizing. If it is just a syndication for one real estate property and you're going to use an SPV, yeah, we actually do have a product specifically for that. If it is, a slush fund or a REIT or something separate that's a larger fund that's not for specific properties one at a time, Securitize is a great option for that. We have legal counsel that we can, refer you to if you do want the fund administration component of that. If it is a larger fund, MG Stover, we have connections there. We have capability to custody those assets, tokenized funds and securities. So happy to discuss that further with you. If you do want to, email me. It's just info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we can definitely further the discussion on that. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this up here, and I feel really bad for this person. It looks as though they've been scammed. So just a reminder to everybody in the community that watches this, please don't interact or ever give your keys to anybody else. Please don't send digital assets to anybody else that says they're going to give more than what you gave them in return. I hate that for this person. I'm sorry that they got exploited. There is no way to get it back. You cannot reverse transactions on the XRPL, especially for XRP. If it was an issued asset on the XRPL, you could claw it back. As long as you issued it, you can do that. But for XRP itself, it cannot be frozen. It cannot be clawed back. You have no recourse if you send it off into somebody else's hands. And you can message them. You can send them very small amounts of XRP with a memo message asking them to return it. And you can get law enforcement involved. I will say that MasterCard has end-to-end product. They can figure out where it went and who liquidated it and where they took it out at, but it's unlikely that you're going to get that XRP back. So sorry to hear that, and hopefully other people in the community just are aware of that and don't get taken advantage of. This individual has asked, how transfer assets from wallet to a Wyoming LLC? Can you add more over time and keep details private? Are there extra taxes for the value of the assets like in Delaware? Yeah, so you'd set up an LLC in Wyoming. We can help you do that. You're going to want to draft an operating agreement that's specific to that type of LLC. There'll be a capital contributions page on the last page of that operating agreement where you're going to list the wallet address, the asset, the ticker, XRP, XLM, Algorand, whatever it is, the amount of the asset, and then the dollar amount on the day that you transferred those four pieces. And you'll do that for all of your assets, and then you'll get that notarized, and that's going to serve as a timestamp of when that transaction took place. And then you don't have to transfer it from one wallet to another, which makes it super clean and easy. You can continue to add to those positions over time as long as you are sending those digital assets that you're purchasing on whatever exchange to those wallets that are associated with the LLC. The transaction on the blockchain actually serves as a written consent or written action. And obviously the wallet that you're sending it to just shows all those transactions. So it's super easy to keep record of all that. The taxes that you're discussing there, depending on the value of the assets that are inside the LLC, can be a little more expensive. So if you're holding assets less than $20 million in an LLC in Wyoming, then it's just $60 a year. If you get north of that, it's like 0.00002% of the assets that you do owe the state for holding your assets there. And we work with clients to mitigate that and make sure that they're situated. So happy to help you with that. If you would like, you just go check it out on our website. It's digitalfamilyoffice.io. And we do help people set up those LLCs and provide the full scope, EIN, articles of incorporation, virtual office, registered agent, templates for the operating agreement. And we can't set up the bank account for you, but I give you like a step-by-step process on how to set up a bank account. So if you got a lawyer do that, it'd be $2,500 to $3,000. We charge. Oh, and we file the BOI for you. I forgot we just added that. So it's $1,000 out the door, all in. Payme XLM says, do you have a strategy for implementing children/family LL members in the LLC? Thank you. Yeah, I would go ahead and set things up as a single member LLC. This is just me. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Again, you can from the jump have multi-member LLC. For me, though, I would use your spouse is going to be pretty much included anyway in your estate. So I would have you designated as the manager, owner of the entity. I would list in your will somewhere that your spouse, gets the ownership of the LLC if you were to pass, or you can list that in the operating agreement, either way. And then, if you did want to gift children small portions of equity in the LLC later on after it appreciated, that is a way that you can reduce the valuation of the company to be able to transfer the equity into a trust or some of the assets into a trust. That would be kind of the order of which I do things, just personal preference. But again, there's no right or wrong way. You can involve people from the beginning. I just feel like it's easier to make decisions if you're the one that owned the digital assets. They probably don't understand things. When money shows up, people get funny, they get weird. So, depending on how old the children are or other family members are, could cause conflicts. I would rather just have full ownership and control, and then be able to select who I wanted to involve when I wanted to involve them in the deal at a later date. And again, just make sure that there's something in writing, either in the operating agreement or your will, that transfers the ownership of the LLC to your spouse in the circumstance you were to pass away. So, this one's good. Jose says, were there any significant announcements or breakthroughs for XRP at the recent event in Las Vegas? Crickets, not that I'm aware of. There were a few key speeches that I've listened to afterwards that I thought were pretty interesting. I got to listen to Greg Kidd's speech earlier today. Digital Asset Investor posted that, DAI, on his page. And he talked about, basically the US dollar remaining in global reserve currency status, but only if the US were to be the ones to lead the way and basically implement distributed ledger technology and adopt a CBDC first. But the only G7 country that's in a pilot phase for their CBDC is Japan. When we did talk to Ripple at Swell last year, they didn't seem very optimistic about the US dollar and the adoption of a CBDC here, or stablecoin that could represent USD. We do have Ripple that's announced their stablecoin that will represent the USD. Could Ripple kind of get folded into the Treasury or the Federal Reserve as systemically important? Possibly, kind of like a quasi public-private partnership, kind of how they have with BlackRock. Maybe Ripple is BlackRock. We'll see. So we'll see. But that was one thing that caught my eye. And then the other one was David Schwartz talking about the AMM. I don't think that people really grasp the impact of the automated market makers at scale for liquidity in markets. Just as an example, in private markets. So right now you have these brokers that source buyers and sellers and matchmake. If you had an AMM, it could source buyers and sellers on those transactions without the brokers. You would have to have tokenized private equity. There'd be some other things that would have to happen prior to that. Digital identity is another one of those things that basically has to happen previous to any of the institutions adopting the AMMs at scale in the XRP ledger. But I'm seeing more and more amendments come out from Ripple, atomic swaps, the Oracle, borrow and lending and earning. Just so many things coming down the pike here that didn't exist before. Has me feeling really optimistic on the long-term deal for the network and Ripple and other people that are building on this network versus, people that have been on Solana and Ethereum and a lot of these other slower, less efficient protocols. I think that, with the advent of those things, you got the stable coin, you got the AMMs. There's just no reason to me that this doesn't get adopted at scale for all the money, right? Like that's Ripple's stated mission. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't have a crystal ball, but yeah, after anytime you hear David Schwartz or Greg Kidd or, Brad Garlinghouse or Chris Larson or any of these guys, Naveen Gupta, give a speech about XRP and its involvement at a global scale for transactions, either cross-border or for other infrastructure, you get excited. You know what I mean? So that I didn't hear anything new. any groundbreaking announcements or anything that we didn't already know. I think things were just reiterated and maybe communicated in a different way. But if you haven't had a chance, I would go watch both of those. The content that was put out from the event with Greg Kidd and with David Schwartz. Let's see here. Elvis says, we know you're a conservative and only hold XRP, but what are 1 to 3 others that you were researching and were on the brink of snatching some small bags? Come on, man. Tell us your temptation cryptos. I really don't have any other ones. I've owned all kinds of stuff over the past 4.5 years. I made a ton of money on Theta and Cardano and VeChain and Quant and XDC, Zilliqa, all kinds of stuff. I missed the boat on all the meme tokens. I missed the boat on Solana, ETH. I did have a little bit of ETH for a little while. But I've been consolidated for a long time, and I have no interest in owning anything else until XRP appreciates. And anytime, I'll tell you this, anytime that I have diversified, because there have been a few times where I'm like, I should be like, that's what I preach, and then I'll diversify, and within 3 days, I just put it all back in. I can't do it. Because it's the only thing I'm sure on. And so for me, like you say, I'm conservative here. Most people would think I'm crazy when I tell people that I'm siloed in one position and I'm not diversified in this market. They think I'm crazy. That's okay. I have strong biases. So again, I've said this before, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Please do your own research. This is not financial advice, only for entertainment and educational purposes only. I'm only going to speak to what I'm doing. I can't talk about what you should do. I can give you my opinion, and if I were in your shoes, what I would do, but it's not advice. So if you do want to work with our firm in that capacity, more than welcome to do so. And those clients that do advise on their board, and I sit on their board and their council, and we work with other professionals that are licensed and certified to be able to give advice and be compensated for doing that. So anyway, all those ones that I mentioned, I think have great futures, and there's utility behind those networks. But at this time, there's really not anything else that I would rather hold. Yeah, same here, Chris. I wish everyone here in the chat and watching on whatever platform you're watching on, Generational Wealth. Hopefully, you've got advisors. You've put yourself in a position where you've educated yourself on wealth management, and so post liquidity event, you're going to be set up. You understand. Again, I don't care if anybody works with me. We're happy to work with anybody, but in the same breath, like, as long as you're thinking about these things before it happens, and you've set yourself up and you have some professionals in your corner that you trust, and you know that you're going to be taken care of, and they have a deeper expertise than you, and you've educated yourself to be able to make sure that you can, make sure that they're not going to take advantage of you. Because that's my main concern after this deal. There's going to be sharks that come out, especially with, so they played the, a 15-minute clip of the XRP series documentary. I can't think of the name of it right now for whatever reason. Chris and his team are doing a fantastic job with that. They were there in Vegas, and that's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be on Hulu. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. It's going to be on all of those channels long term. And if people in your network know, because people in my network know, I've told lots of people, they're going to come out of the woodwork after this happens. And if you're coming to professionals with hundreds of millions of dollars, if they don't have a really good track record and they weren't recommended to you by somebody else, I would think twice. I would just vet people, make sure they're good, always be hesitant, and double check things. So, but hopefully, like I said, you've got everything in place. You know what you're going to do. You got a plan, and you're able to execute post-liquidity event to maintain your wealth long-term. Let's see here. This is good. Chris asks, hey there, Jake, could you explain a bit more of what a tier 1 asset is and how you, XRP, become one? I won't be a tier 1 asset, but XRP could definitely become one. So a tier 1 asset in the banking system for the last 50 years until really 2019, the only tier 1 asset was US Treasuries. And that means it's riskless. Basically, you hold that and you know there's no risk associated with it. It's 100% guaranteed. It cannot default. You cannot lose it. Whatever's backing it is as good as gold, even though gold was a tier 3 asset until 2019. It's now a tier 1 asset. So the only 2 tier 1 assets, according to the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements, which they have a summit going on right now, the 6th through the 8th. They are who make that designation. What is tier 1 collateral in the banking system? Currently, again, it's just US Treasuries and gold. The reason US Treasuries are as good as gold is because they can print all the money that they need to back it, right? They can't default because they can print the money. When we move into this new paradigm, does that change? Likely so. I think commodities, maybe oil and gold, and we're hoping XRP ends up a tier 1 asset. And the reason I think that that'll be the case is it's riskless. There's no counterparty risk for XRP. The volume on the network would be what would hold price stability or back the token. You can't freeze it. You can't claw it back. There's no issuer. It's literally the protocol that backs the value of the token. So it'd be like, imagine something being backed by the volume of emails sent every single day. Those are going to continue. It's not like they're going to stop. Everybody's going to continue to use that infrastructure to message one another. And so, I mean, as long as it's the global system for transmitting value or communication, probably a pretty riskless thing to hold. So my expectation is that the BIS will deem it systemically important and will likely give it a designation as a tier 1 asset, which would then allow it to be held by banks and institutions to back derivatives. And you would also get preferred rates for lending and borrowing with it. It would be a lot of really good things for, us retail holders that hold XRP. And I've said this before, but I'll kind of reiterate it here. Only probably 2 to 3% of the supply, maybe even less than that, is held by retail. Simon, who's the CEO at Uphold, asked me what percentage of XRP I thought was held by exchanges and retail, and I told him, 5 or 6%, and he said, yeah, it's about right. So you got to think you've got these exchanges that hold. Uphold's got $1 billion plus, maybe $2 billion. So that knocks, a couple percent off right there. Between all the other exchanges, you probably got another $2 billion allocated. So retail realistically has between 1 and 2 billion XRP. It's not that much. And people are always like, well, if it did go to those prices, how are you going to let that many people get rich? I'm like, not that many people. It's really not that many people that hold a significant amount of this stuff. It's less than, I would argue, probably less than 50 to 70,000 people globally on more than 50,000 XRP. It's really not that many people. So for them to, deem it a tier 1 asset, there are people that hold US Treasuries. Most of those people are, have more than 8 figures in wealth. If they're holding US Treasuries and buying them and trading them, rolling them. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little more context around what a tier 1 asset is, who designates that, and then some of the benefits that would be associated if XRP was given that designation. Ooh, this is a good one. Laws asked, what's my dream car? I like an MC20, and I like Dodge Viper pre 08. Both of those pretty nice. I don't fit very well in exotic cars. I'm about 6 foot 240. I don't fit into a lot of things really well. So I drive a truck. It's comfortable for me, but maybe a Range Rover. Range Rover would be nice. They don't really have good crash ratings, and they're super expensive to fix and do the maintenance and everything on. So I don't know. Those are just some things that I think about. The Dodge Viper, I have some nostalgia for. I had a friend growing up. His uncle owned a coffee cup manufacturer, and he had a Dodge Viper and drove us around in it, which was cool. I did like 108 when I was 12 years old. So, which I thought was super fast then. It's not that fast, but it was cool at the time. So anyway, that's probably what I would get. Like if I wanted to take something to the track and work on something and have a hobby, it would probably be a Dodge Viper before 08. Let's see here. Scroll on down. Everybody's got good questions. Appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. Here's one. Crypto with K, Masher says, Jake, I have a question. How will the collapse of the US dollar affect our XRP? I don't think the dollar is going to collapse. I know that's the narrative, right? Like all global currencies seem to be hyperinflating at this point. I was talking about this with the Mastermind earlier today. There was a gentleman in there that asked me for a list of macroeconomists that I follow on different channels to kind of come up with my thesis of how things play out, because I think I haven't heard anybody else come to the same conclusions as me. That doesn't mean they're not out there. And I'm probably way off the mark. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. But I think there's a situation where there's a deflationary collapse before the hyperinflation that everybody's concerned about. If you had the implementation of a lot of these technologies at scale, you would see mass deflation across the economy where our currency, actually would be worth significantly more and be able to buy more value because everything would be able to be produced significantly cheaper. But there really would, we're already seeing a lot of the jobs being removed because of the implementation of some of these technologies, and they've held it back. Large language models and ChatGPT and some of these other AIs, they're really good already. They can draft legal documentation if they're given the right guide rails and access to things. They've been pulled back in that regard. I think there's some other applications where they were like, whoa, this is too good, too fast. We need to be able to retool our workforce and augment their capability to integrate this into their work. And people just aren't ready for it yet. So how does that affect our XRP though? Bullish for our XRP. They're going to have to move to digital currencies to be able to augment some of what I just discussed there, and put the resources to work in the right way. I've talked about this before. The reason for this, the Soviet Union collapsing, was they weren't able to allocate resources appropriately. They're in a free economy or capitalism, there's gaps that occur, and people see those gaps and then they fill them, right? They'll create a product or service, or they arbitrage something until it closes the gap. It doesn't happen with communism or socialism because the government allocates the resources. But if you had an AI that could analyze all the transactions across an economy and spot those disparities and then incentivize spending or disincentivize spending in certain sectors of the economy with the CBDC, I know people get all in their feels about that. I understand. But I think there's a way that you could have, some of the benefits of, socialism and communism along with free capital markets, and you could marry those two without the downsides to either. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see if that's how it plays out. But if the dollar is no longer the reserve currency, we're going to have to move to a new system. And for us, we think we know what that is, right? It's, tokenized assets and digital currencies on the XRPL, using XRP to settle all the value in the transactions for those ecosystems, which is bullish for XRP. So that's my 2 cents. Let's see here. A lot of good questions. Mr. Nobody in the chat. Let's see. This is random again, but I will answer it. What's your favorite brand of sunglasses? I heard we may need some soon. I like Ray-Bans or Oakleys are my 2 favorite. I say that. I had a pair of and they weren't Gucci. What's the other like fancy brand? It's with the red and green stripes. I don't know. I'm a little bougie on the sunglasses. I will say, like, polarized sunglasses are very nice. And I go to Sunglasses Hut, and like, here's the secret on Sunglasses Hut. And I don't know if they do it anymore, but if you take them back, like, and you buy the warranty, okay, and you take them back, like within 3 days of the warranty expiring for a year, you can still get a brand new pair for like $30 or $40. So as long as you buy them and you get the warranty on it, which is like an extra $20, if they're $300 pair of sunglasses, you use them for a year, and then you can take them back and they'll swap you for a new pair, and it just costs you like $30. So if they get cracked or broken or worn or whatever else, pretty good value, right? And you just roll it to the next pair each time. Like I said, I'm not sure if they still do that, because I think a lot of people were taking advantage of it. But yeah, maybe we need some sunglasses. There's some solar activity I've seen, so we'll see if there's anything that comes with that. They've been saying that for a long time. William Lovell, nice last name. I'm very serious. I moved all of my money off of Uphold. If you made 10K, it would take you 10 days to get 10K. That's not true. Maybe if you're on the retail side. If you are on the OTC side of things, you can remove however much you want, same day. We have that availability with Kraken, and we have that with Uphold through the family office. Caleb and Brown is another one. They're a little more expensive on the fees to be able to, swap to fiat and then liquidate to your bank account. But if you're working with us, you should be able to withdraw however much you need same day using, I say that ACH is only up to $1 million same day. So it's going to be the next day if it's more than $1 million, but if it is, you can definitely get at least, I've withdrawn more than that amount same day from Uphold. Amanda Carr asked a good question. She said, should we put our crypto in custody and let it grow there? I would, everybody has a plan. Okay. I would say, or hopefully you do. Hopefully you have a plan for the amount that you're going to liquidate, the amount that you're going to hold long term. Maybe the amount that you hold long term, you think you're going to use in some capacity to earn a yield, either through delegating to a liquidity pool or borrowing against it or lending it or staking it, whatever, right? The amount that you're going to hold for the long term, it should probably be held in qualified custody, insured. You're not going to move it very often. You're not going to do anything with it, cold storage. If you are going to liquidate some, there are, again, those couple exchanges that I mentioned that I trust. I don't think they're going to go down. We've seen problems in the past, so I could be completely wrong. If you have a big, spike in volume on a network or servers, they become congested. If there's not enough throughput or bandwidth, then their site can go down. But there's circumstances in which you could hold things on an exchange and have limit orders or buy sell orders with a broker, and it could make sense for your plan. So depends on what you want to do, is what I would say. But there probably is always an aspect where you would be holding funds or digital assets in qualified custody for the long term and just let it ride there. Brian Leonard says, Jake, love the content and I've learned a ton since joining the Mastermind a few months ago. Are there any drawbacks or limitations to putting your assets in an LLC? Anything I'm missing? Glad to have you in the Mastermind, and I'm glad that it's been valuable for you. Try to put as much as we can in there, help people out. Are there any drawbacks to having your stuff in an LLC? The cost associated with setting it up would probably be the only thing that comes directly to mind. You still have complete control of the assets. You have the benefit of mitigating taxes if you spend the money the right way. You have the flexibility to reduce the value of the assets and move them into a trust or an estate later on by doing some of the things I mentioned earlier. You have the capability to move them into a key employee life insurance policy and write that off and put that in PPLI or another, something else, and mitigate any taxes there. An LLC just gives you the most flexibility if you're going to liquidate or if you're going to hold long term for setting up your estate. It gives you a lot of flexibility in what you want to do with the assets. If you want to make a donation to a charitable remainder trust or a foundation, and you could do those things from your personal name also. But you don't get the benefit of the mitigating the taxes. Setting up the insurance policy isn't going to be associated with an LLC, so you're not going to be able to write that off. Moving it into a trust, you're going to have to assume the full value of the assets. There's not going to be a way to discount them. So, if you're liquidating, again, you're going to have the full tax implications. You're not going to be able to write anything off. I think an LLC is a great way to position yourself for a reasonable cost prior to the liquidity event. Again, I've mentioned before, if you've got less than, $50,000 to $80,000 invested, an LLC may or may not make sense. If you're going to liquidate a portion of your assets, it might still make sense. But if you're just planning on holding long term, the value of your assets when they do appreciate, and that's also dependent on where you think price is going to go. If you think it goes straight to $1,000, you probably need an LLC. You probably need a trust. If it's going to go to, $10, $20, $50, $100, you got time. You'll be okay. You'll be able to move stuff into a trust or an estate without breaching the gift tax threshold here in the U.S. If you're in Canada, no worries. You can gift to your heart's content up there. If you're in the UK, I would definitely have my stuff out of my personal name into an entity that was offshore. Just personal preference. You're only allowed to gift like $400,000 worth of value every 7 years in the UK. Same thing in Australia. I would go ahead and get things set up now. Anybody that's under the monarchy and part of the Commonwealth, they're going to stick it to you on the taxes. Same Canada is too, but at least you can gift your assets out of your personal name before you liquidate them. If you plan on liquidating them. And if I was in Canada, I probably wouldn't even liquidate because you're going to be subject to 66.7% tax on your capital gains for anything over $500,000, which is absurd. But that's the laws that they've passed. So anyway, a couple different jurisdictions there. But hopefully that gives you an idea of the benefits of an LLC. And again, really the only drawback that I can see is like cost to benefit of investing those funds in digital assets versus paying that money to set it up now. Like you weigh that for yourself, depending on what price it goes to, how much it saves you on taxes, and weigh that out. Let's see. Cross Nexus, Tax Pros. What is this? Here we go. Black 50 says, after the big event and everyone's rushing to you, for a family office. Will the mastermind members be first in line? Yes. Anybody that's had a previous consult with me or our firm or has set up an LLC or has is part of the mastermind, the Beyond Broke Mastermind, will have priority over everybody else. They will get the email before everybody else. We will work through all those people and see who's going to work with us and who doesn't want to. And if we still have capacity after we've worked through those 700 people, then, you know, I doubt that we'll still have capacity, just to be honest with you. But yeah, all of those people will definitely take priority. Love you guys to death. You know, I wish I could help the entire community. We're working on solutions where we might be able to. That's something I'm working on in the background. It's not going to be as personal, I'll just say that, but it may actually end up being better advice than I could give you if I execute on it correctly. So it's going to take me 3 to 6 months to really get that up and going, but pretty cool. But yeah, in the short term, it's just going to be people that are part of the mastermind and people that we've had consults with previous. Like I said, that's somewhere between 600 and 700 people at this time. So if you do want preference, it's a good idea to get in there and or just schedule a time with our team. Appreciate you, Carbon One member. Appreciate you being part of the group, brother. Hopefully it's beneficial for you, and I'm glad that you've made the leap on that deal. Kevin, how are you, sir? He says, what's the scoop on the court case? Stall. You know, same as it has been. They're going to redact a bunch of stuff from the documents that have been submitted before they're made public. And hopefully the judge gives some type of ruling within the next 14 days here is kind of the sentiment based on what I'm seeing. Could it be appealed? Could there be long drawn out other stuff? Absolutely. But I do think we will have some type of conclusion to the court case within the next, I would say this month is my guess. William says, if XRP went to $5 and you had 10,000 XRP, it's worth 50K, right? Well, you can only take 10K that day. Yeah, only if you're on the retail side. If you have, again, if you're partnered with us and you're part of the Ascent platform and the OTC desk, you can raise those limits to $1 million a day in ACH, and then whatever amount beyond that if you're willing to wait a day. Denny, thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, thanks for the deal flow you give us access to in the mastermind. After the liquidity event, we have a plan to put the majority of the new wealth to work in your deals. Thank you, brother. Yeah, so for those that don't know, we do run private investments in the mastermind group. You know, you get access to things there that you can't find anywhere else. And we're able to basically, you know, come together as a community and put capital together on different types of investments. And yeah, it's cool. It's the only thing that I'm aware of that exists like that in the XRP community. There's really not anything else where, you know, a group is able to come together and put together capital and go in on private equity for companies or real estate or whatever else, whatever other deals we have. But yeah, if it's something you're interested in, would love to have people in the mastermind so that you can get access to that. Kevin's asked me where the R3 swag is. It's right here. You know, it's behind the camera. I'm washing my coffee cup. I did send out the coffee cups today. We had 2 extras from R3. So people in the mastermind group, we did a random draw, and we did pick 2 people that got R3 coffee cups. So again, we'll continue to do stuff like that in the mastermind group, do giveaways and other things, just to show our appreciation for those people. Dustin Bauer says, can I make family members employees of my LLC and pay them a salary? The answer is yes, you absolutely can. but they need to actually be doing something in the business. They need to have an employment agreement, and there needs to be a function of the business that they are providing, right? So it can't just be, I'm paying them for no reason. You're walking a line, you know what I mean? Like, you need to have justification for paying them. So let's say you got your kiddos, right? Maybe they spend 1 hour a week filing receipts for you, okay? Or they're doing the books, or they're booking something, or you can use them in your marketing. So if you're taking photos and you're posting it on a website or your social media and it's for your business, you can pay your kids for that. There needs to be something that the family members are doing in the business to actually provide value, and that would be justifiable if you were to get audited. And I know it's probably not what you want to hear. You probably want me to be like, yeah, just pay them. It's no big deal. But you do need to have an employment agreement, and they do need to provide some value for the business and do something that's needed within their job description and scope of work. So, and that would be enlisted in the employment agreement. So you can make it whatever. You can make it as trivial as you want, but it does have to be something for the business in order for them to be paid a salary. You can pay your wife and children, or your spouse, excuse me, for the ladies out there that are the XRP holders and not the husband. Or if you're just setting up a business, and I don't know why I'm talking about specifically somebody holding XRP, but you can pay your spouse or your children. I think I don't remember if it's $12,000 or $14,000 a year. I'd have to check. I know it's changed a couple times. I'm going to go with the low end and say 12. You can pay them up to $12,000 a year, tax free, and then you can pay them another $6,000. Maybe it's $6,500. No, it's another $6,000. They can go into an IRA or 401k. So up to $18,000 a year can be paid to your children and your spouse, gifted, with no tax implications out of a business, and that is a write-off for the business. And they don't have to claim that income, and you don't have to claim it on your taxes because you paid them. So I know a lot of people that do that at the end of the year. They just cut their family members a check for $12,000, stick it in a savings account or do something else with it. Put it in an investment, fund it a UIL for your kids, do some other things. So that would be, some of the things we would discuss with somebody when they're working with us. But you mentioned specifically a salary here. They're going to need to be performing some function for the business. Let's see here. Kazin? I think that's how I'm saying it right. I think I said it right. What's the threshold for having a digital asset protection trust over an LLC? Is it based on how big you're expecting your liquidity event to be? Yeah, kind of two pieces there, right? So again, depending on what you think the value of your assets is going to go to, it might be justifiable for a lower amount of assets if you think it's going straight to $1,000 or something crazy. If you're expecting a little bit less than that, realistically, the gift tax threshold for a married couple in the U.S. is $27.2 million. If you got some kids or other people in your family that you're trying to, you could gift a little bit of equity of the LLC to, you could get a reduction of about 25% on the threshold there, or the total valuation of assets. So we could go ahead and stack, 27.2 million times 1.25. I don't know what that got. I don't have my phone with me. But y'all can do the math on that. Whatever that is, if you think your assets are going to be north of that with the amount that you have, probably a good time to go ahead and set up a trust. So something north of let's say you had 330,000 XRP, just to give it a good round number, maybe 350, maybe more than 350,000 XRP, and you think it's going to $100 a piece. Okay. Even as a married couple, that's kind of the point where you might start looking at a trust. And really, it's maybe even a little bit more than that, because you're going to pay $15,000 to $20,000 for the trust. If that was invested in XRP, pretty decent return there, but how much does it save you on taxes when you're going to move that into an estate? Some people, for peace of mind. I have clients that were like, I've got less than this amount, but for me, I want to have a trust set up and just be done with it. Know that I'm structured and set up, and I don't have to worry about it. It's less stress for me. Again, quality of life. There's no right or wrong answers. You get to choose that for you, but those are kind of the numbers. Like if I was going to put it in numbers, where I would be looking to might start, it might be time to start checking out a digital asset protection trust in Wyoming. Appreciate everybody here in the chat. Yeah, smash the like button. Subscribe, share. If you're getting value, hopefully it's beneficial for you. Happy to answer any questions. If you got somebody else that has got a question that you think is relevant, ping them, tell them to hop on and put it here in the chat, and happy to help them out or try do my best to answer it. Poloni65 says, could XRP really become BTC value in the future? If so, how many years would that take? Short answer, yes. How long does that take? It takes as long as it takes to get stock market, FX, commodities, real estate, global FX, currencies, derivatives. And that's the big one right there, is derivatives. So Codius, when that comes into fruition and it's going to be used at scale and they settle through XRP, then we're going to see 5 figures, right? Is that $10,000? Is it $50,000? Is it $99,000? I don't know. But derivatives market is really when we could see some crazy stuff. A lot of the numbers that a lot of people are hopeful for, I don't think that's anytime soon. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong on that one. But so however long that takes. I can't tell you how many years that would be, but that is the circumstance in which you could see that type of value on the network, and the token would have to be a similar price to BTC to be able to facilitate the transactions at scale for quadrillions of dollars in value. Hey, lots of good people I know here in the chat. Rob Strong, Sherry, appreciate you hopping in here. Living Legacy. Let's see. Sam has asked, how can we keep our assets quantum secure? So David Schwartz has talked about this on a cold wallet. I'm just going to give you what he said. Okay. I know that the infrastructure and the qualified custody that we use for our clients is quantum proof. The keys are sharded and held across HSMs globally. And so it'd be very difficult to hack all of those and then pull the keys back together and then, unencrypt everything and execute a transaction. Could it be done if a quantum computer had long enough? Possibly, but very unlikely. So it would take a long time, basically. If you are holding your assets on just a ledger or a decent wallet, I would send assets there and not expose your exit key. So if you send it in, you've exposed the key coming in. If you send it out, you've then exposed the second key, and then you have the capability for a quantum computer to hack you. If you've only ever exposed one key, then you're basically quantum safe. So if you've only ever sent assets to a wallet, you're good. As far as what David Schwartz says, and he's my go-to on that. He's smarter than I am. So that would be my recommendation. Either hold them in qualified custody with somebody that uses a similar technology. I think Medico also uses HSMs, along with standard custody and PolySign's infrastructure, which is what we use. But if you don't have that luxury, and you just have a cold wallet, don't send assets out. Only send assets in, and you should be secure. let's see here. Appreciate everybody becoming members of the channel. I'll make a list for this for everybody in the mastermind. I follow a bunch of different channels on YouTube. There's a bunch of people that I deem way smarter than me. Just to rattle off a few, Lynette Zhang, who was just at the event there in Vegas, brilliant lady. She's kind of a gold bug. A lot of the people that I follow are kind of gold bugs. Austrian economics, very sharp. Robert Kiyosaki, George Gammon, Rick Rule. I wrote down a bunch of them here. Let me see. I didn't get all the way through everything. Mike Maloney, Peter Schiff, Andy Sheckman, the Bond King. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you guys would know him if you just Google the Bond King. He'll come up. He's kind of doom and gloom. A lot of these people do the fear porn stuff. I'm not into all that. Greg Manarino is another really good one. And then there's some other people that I follow. I could not think of the gentleman's name that has the deflationary theory. I'll have to find him. He's been on several different podcasts that I've listened to around the implementation of the technologies that are like be converging at scale, and that's why it would cause a deflationary collapse. Anyway, yeah, I'll put a list together of all the different YouTube channels that I follow. I also listen to a lot of motivational stuff on YouTube on a regular basis, just to lift myself up and my vibration. A lot of stuff. Alex Hormozy is another one. I found him when he had like 2,500 subs when I found Alex 2 years ago, and I commented on his channel, was like, how do you not have easily hundreds of thousands of people? And sure enough, 2 years later, he's got millions of subs. So the value that he was putting out even back then was fantastic. Him and his wife, Layla. So both of them are good. The gentleman, Robert Greene, I listen to him a lot. The Art of War, or the 48 Laws of Power. And then he has a couple different books. Who's the African guy that I listen to? He really is African. I don't just say that. Vusi is a great business coach and speaker. Anyway, yeah, I'll put together, the 60 different channels that I watch on a regular basis for the people in the mastermind for them to check out. Let's see here. Yeah, Rob Strong, he says, I'm sure Jake will have a better answer, but we're clear. No one owns the ledger or the protocol. It's backed by its use as a bridge, etc., which means no counterparty risk. Yeah, it's agnostic, right? So there's not anybody that inherently owns the protocol. Even Ripple at this point, they run 3 validators on the network and they get to vote. But we've proven, that there's some clash of people that are on the network between the 35 validators that do vote on the amendments being passed. I think that it's definitely decentralized. So, and this is my definition of decentralized. Okay. No one validator or node on a network is able to receive more than 15% of the rewards or verification of transactions, right? With there being 35 validators and they're all equally weighted on the votes, and you have to have 80% consensus, there is no one source. It's decentralized. And then, and you can run a node, and you would want to if you were a financial institution or a university or somebody else that was going to use the protocol to transact so that you could trust the network, right? It's not cheap to run a node or validator on a network, but and that's the other deal. There's no incentive. The best incentive is no incentive. You're not getting paid to do it. You're doing it so that you can trust the network. So anyway, yeah, there's nobody that owns the XRP, can't be frozen, can't be clawed back. The original account was black holed, so nobody can get access to it to issue more XRP or manipulate it in any way. And so therefore, there's no counterparty risk. Similar to people talk about Satoshi and his wallets, and he started it, and now it's decentralized, and there's no centralized authority that really controls the network. But in reality, the miners on the network do get to decide the order of the transactions. Same thing for Ethereum. You can't do that on the XRPL. Whatever order they happened in is exactly what they happen in. They don't get to put their transactions ahead of other people when they're validating stuff on the network like Bitcoin does. So that was one of the things that David Schwartz just talked about at XRP Vegas, if you do listen to that clip, which I thought, again, was very interesting. Scrolling on down here. It's not Gucci. Prada? It's Prada. Prada has some really good sunglasses. I know you wouldn't think that, but like the sides of them were really, they didn't like press your head, but they were comfortable. Anyway, I had those for a long time. They were very nice. They were polarized. Everybody's got the Costas. Yeah, Costas are nice. I'm not a fishing guy, so I don't need to see in the water, but I have looked through those into water, and that is pretty cool. What they are able to do is take the glare off, and you can see like where the fish are. Becky says, "Hey Jake, could you talk a little bit about the mastermind cost? How often do masterminds meet, etc.? How do I join?" Happy to. We do have multiple different tiers, right, that fit different people and where they are in their life or what they're looking to get for value. I've been a part of 4 other mastermind groups. The least I ever paid to be a part of one of those was $3,000 for the year. I try to provide as much or more value in ours for $25 a month, which is the social membership. So that's kind of the starting tier. People can try it. If they like it, great. You can upgrade or you can stay there. I think you get a lot of value for the $25. You're able to attend all the town hall, all the meetups that we have. We try to have one per quarter where people can come to and network with other high-level professionals that have aligned interest in digital assets. Might have previous head of NASA at the event in Fort Smith next month. We'll see. I don't know if they're going to be there or not. Anyway, stuff like that. And you do carbon level 1 is the next level above that, and it's $100 a month. That allows you to participate in all of the investment opportunities that we run in the mastermind, along with it gives you access to business resources on the website. So if you want SOPs for your business or sales scripts, other ways to increase the valuation within your business, we have a lot of those materials there on the website to be able to help people for that. Carbon level 2 is really for people that are a little bit further along. So they've already got a trust set up. They've got some of their estate planning done. They're normally high-level professionals that make a pretty good salary or run a business that's doing 7 or 8 figures. And we work with them to, set themselves up for exit through their business or, manage their estate properly. They get access to some deals previous to the rest of the group. And then we have the highest level, which is carbon level 3, and that's mainly for family office clients where there's exclusive deal flow, along with a laundry list of other cool benefits. The people in carbon 2 also do get access to a suit at a discount. It's really at cost. It's like $475 for a custom bespoke suit. We have a tailor that we work with to be able to provide that. And so, anyway, a lot of cool things that we offer inside of there. Would love to have you as part of it. If you do want to join, you just go to mastermind.beyondbroke.com, and you can check out the different levels and see what fits you best. Let's see. At the top here, join the exclusive community at beyondbroke.com. I think it's mastermind.beyondbroke.com. Let's see here. Henry Lou says, "Hi Jake, love all that you do for the community. Do you have any FAs under your umbrella from Minnesota? Thanks again." We do not have any financial advisors up there in Minnesota. I've been to Winona in February. Did not enjoy that. It was very cold. God bless you for living up there in that weather. I'm born and raised in Texas, so I would rather it be 60 than, or I'd rather it be 100 than 60. I'd rather be hot than cold personally, but I digress. So we don't have anybody up there that's local to you. Mickle is working with us now, and I believe he is in Connecticut, so not really anywhere close to Minnesota. Our other financial advisor, they're in Texas, Colorado, and North Carolina. And so, yeah, I don't have anybody close to you that has the proficiency with digital assets that we regard as enough. We have a very high standard for that. So everybody that we work with has a bias for the XRPL and understands digital assets at scale, how to mitigate risk and create options and hedge portfolios, along with the wealth management component and traditional assets as well, how to diversify across that and get you the best bang for your buck. So that's Digital Wealth Partners. If you want to check out the website, it's digitalwealthpartners.net. And again, you set up a time and we're happy to meet with you, but we don't have anybody local there to Minnesota, unfortunately. Let's see here. Chill Oreo 101 says, can you help me set up an LLC this week, Senor? Thank you. Happy to help you. I will say we have had a few people reach out that were international people, and you're going to need a TIN. I don't know if this is applicable to you, but I just wanted to mention it. You'll need a TIN or an ITIN before we can set up an LLC for you. We can't set up international parties and LLC here in the U.S. without a tax identification number. So you would need to apply for that. We're happy to share the form with you if that's something you're interested in. But people that are domestic here to the U.S., you're just going to go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and then click services. And in the drop down, there'll be LLC setup, and you click on that, and we're happy to help you through the link there. Soro says, if many altcoins have their own utility, how could they have to follow Bitcoin as it increases or decreases? Currently, there is no utility among any of the assets in the market. It's all speculation. And if there is utility, it's very minimal. Even XRP, super minimal. And I don't like that. I'm just being real with everybody. The market is still very speculative. It's a nascent asset class. It's mainly traded by bots. And so the reason that the whole market moves in correlation with Bitcoin is that bots will take out leveraged long positions on Bitcoin. And when there is, a liquidation there, they have to cover from other positions. So they sell other positions to be able to cover those losses where they took leverage on the long on Bitcoin. And that drives all of the whole rest of the market down. Sometimes, tokens go down even further than Bitcoin because there's just more liquidity for Bitcoin and more exchanges sell it. And so when there is a drop, people tend to buy it up. And that's just the way the market works at the current time. As utility comes in for some of these different assets, I do think that will change dramatically. But until that's the case, I think that the constraints will remain the same. And unfortunately, the rest of the altcoins will follow Bitcoin, unless we're in alt season and then you get a rotation out of Bitcoin's market cap into alts. And it's still speculation. It's not utility driven. So, when is XRP docu airing? The documentary, I assume. XRP Unleashed, that's the name of it. Should be end of Q3, early Q4 is what I've been told. They do have a merch shop up also. If you guys want to check that out. They were showing me that earlier, and I guess they launched that at XRP Vegas. Very cool. I will say this. They've completely funded this out of their own pocket. They are doing all of the editing, everything, right? So if you do like what they're doing, a way that you could show appreciation is buy some merch for it. I think it's pretty cool. You know, I have a little bias. I'm involved in it, but I think it's going to be like a what was the movie with Michael Burry around 08? Big Short. There we go. Sorry, having a hard time tonight. It's late. I think that this will be like that for XRP, but it'll be the actual people that they're interviewing that were involved, and not just some actors that come along afterwards. So I think it's pretty cool. And if you do want to support them in some capacity, again, they do have some merch. Here's CJ's asked a good question that I'm sure a lot of people have. He's asked, how much does it cost to set up a trust with you? So depending on the full scope of the trust, it could be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. If you've got LLCs and all the bells and whistles, it's on the higher end. If it's just a basic digital asset protection trust with no LLC inside of it, just $15,000. And people, it's not cheap. We do have partners that can do it cheaper than that. That's not their bread and butter. It's not buttoned up all the way. It doesn't have the individual that we use or the firm that we use to set that up has a doctorate in tax mitigation and has set up more digital asset protection trust than any other attorney in the U.S. Writes articles for Bloomberg and Forbes on how to mitigate taxes for digital assets and what jurisdictions are best suited outside the U.S. for digital assets and holdings. So, I mean, we use the best of the best, and they're not cheap. So, anyway, that's our cost basis. Again, we can refer you out to another firm that's a little bit less than that, somewhere between 7 and 15. But after having sent some people there, it hasn't just hasn't been to the same quality. So, anyway. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what those things cost. Just a normal living trust, which is what most people think of when they're thinking about trusts, revocable or irrevocable trust. In your state is where you would normally want to set that up, and it's going to cost you somewhere between $2,000 and $6,000 most of the time if you're working with an attorney to get it set up the right way. So. But it doesn't afford you all the same protections that an asset protection trust would. You're normally the trustee on that, and so people can pierce the veil and get to the assets in there a lot easier. Not always, but sometimes. And then the asset protection trust, you're going to have, it's irrevocable, so you can't change it. We put a lot of wording in there that it makes it flexible, so don't feel like you're pigeonholed with it, but it does have to be structured a certain way in order to get the benefit. And you'll designate another trustee outside of yourself to be the one that basically says, are you using these assets to pay off creditors? If the answer is no, they work with you and sign off on transactions, do whatever you need. If the answer is yes, you are being pursued by somebody for litigation or a creditor or whatever else, and you're trying to use the assets to pay for that, they won't let you pull the assets out. And that's really what basically stops anybody from getting to the assets. Scrolling on down here to the bottom, we are running on a little over an hour. We'll probably hang out another 10-15 minutes here, and then we will wrap it up. Mr. Nobody says, what's your biggest strength, your bench, or your portfolio? I don't really have much of a portfolio or really much of a bench, to be honest with you. Like I've told y'all before, like 325 for 5 is what I can do on bench. I know people that bench. I mean, there's a guy a town over from me that does powerlifting that benches over 500 that I work out with occasionally. I feel weak when I go work out with him. And my portfolio is not really a portfolio. It's just a siloed allocation to one asset. So I don't know which one's a bigger strength. I would say both those are weaknesses. If you're talking about, I guess everything's relative also. Good question though. Let's see here. This is a good one. Rocky Mountain Jack said, I recently moved my personal address with the SOS. Was changed to my new personal address without a virtual address. Do I need to correct this? Um, moved, and my personal address with my SOS was changed to my new personal address without a virtual address. I always like a PO box, right? So, virtual office is great. We do provide that for clients now that sign up with us. I will say that you can have a problem getting a bank account if that's what's listed on there. I always like to use a PO box just so that I have access to the mail. It's coming to me. It's still not my home address. People could, do some research and figure out who is associated with it if they really wanted to, but they're going to have to work really hard for that. Virtual office can be of benefit. The wealthier you are, the more anonymous you want to be, would probably change which one of those you would go with. So the answer is no, you don't have to, but you could. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. The Bond King, Steve Van Meter. If you guys don't follow Steve, again, a lot of fearmonger, but he is very intelligent when it comes to bonds. Let's see. I do follow Blockchain Backer. That is another channel that I watch on the reg. And I always appreciate his technical analysis. I'm not a TA guy. He does involve some macroeconomics there, which I do appreciate. He talks about the Dow and the NASDAQ and traditional stock market and its correlation to crypto. I think that his thesis on that is much more relevant than the halving and some of the other narratives around the space. I think that he has that down pat. He's even got like patterns that he follows. There's a 7, and I don't know if y'all seen that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll back up to 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll back up to wave 4 within wave 5, and then down for one more low. And that plays out all the time in crypto, which is crazy to me. Like after he showed it, I was like, "It's the pattern all the time." Anyway, yeah, definitely another channel to follow if you guys don't. Cassandra's asked thoughts on BlackRock coming in heavy. I'm going to just be real with y'all on this, and this is my tinfoil hat, so take it with a grain of salt here. I don't know this. This is just my guess. You got all these people that are screaming, well, the investment banks are here and they've got an allocation, and so now it can't fail. There's no way, right? I think that they know these markets are in for a downturn. You have to at this point. Like we're in a bubble. People are aware. There's going to be a pullback. Is there a black swan event? I don't know what causes it. Okay. But I have a theory on what causes it, and I think they're going to point to Bitcoin. So the SEC did not want to approve the ETFs. They were basically required to because of the lawsuit with Grayscale. And they even openly stated, we do not support the underlying asset. We understand that there's demand for this, and the investment banks have pushed and pushed and pushed, and so we're approving it, but we do not condone the underlying asset. They still settle T+2 on the back end. So let's say you get sanctions on Tether, or we have a significant drawdown in Bitcoin for whatever reason. Okay, pick your reason. Doesn't matter to me. The investment banks have unrealized losses. It doesn't respond very quickly. Their T+2 settlement, they've got to pull from traditional allocations in order to cover losses in Bitcoin and the spot ETFs that they have. As people are liquidating. So, and this is the difference between people that hold the underlying asset themselves and people that trade in ETF. People that trade in ETF, they're there to trade. They're not there to hold that asset long term like somebody that understands the inherent value of what a lot of people argue is the inherent value of Bitcoin, long-term store of wealth. I don't think it's that, but a lot of people have that narrative, right? So people hodl, and over the long term, they've done really well. People that hold the ETF, they don't care about that. They're trying to make money today. They will sell it. So I think you're going to have a huge liquidation in the ETFs at some point because of some catalyst. Again, you take your pick. And when that happens, they're going to have to pull from traditional stocks and other positions that they hold, the investment banks, to cover the losses there. And that's going to be the narrative for what caused the collapse of the stock market. They're going to need a scapegoat to point to, and regulation is going to be swept in the space. And it's going to be one more thing, black eye for crypto. I don't know if they remove Bitcoin or if they, what is the long-term implications of that? I have no clue. But I that's the narrative that I see playing out when there's a significant downturn in Bitcoin and it causes a significant downturn in the stock market. So that's my thoughts for BlackRock coming in heavy and why they're doing it that way. Let's see here. Thermal Protector says, about 4 weeks ago, you were extremely bullish on XRP hitting $100 to $200 by the end of the year. Do you still believe this? Regulations seem to be further down the road, mid to late 2025. I do think that regulations for the rest of the space, you're spot on, 2025 from Congress. I think XRP is going to have clarity while everything else doesn't, which it already does. That and Bitcoin are the only two things that have clarity in the eyes of the U.S. government and the SEC. So I think that there's going to be a moat. I think Ripple's going to build a moat. They're going to have a year and a half where, probably 12 months at least, where they are the only shop in town where they can settle. And that's where all of this stuff's going to move to. And I do think, I'm still extremely confident that we do see those numbers or even more by the end of the year. So we'll see. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but that's my thesis, and I'm sticking to it. Here's a good question. Wendell Wood says, if you have an LLC, does it matter if it's a multi-member, if it's a member managed or manager managed during a liquidity event? The manager is going to get to decide what they can do with the assets. So are you the member that's managing the LLC? I would think you would want to be. If you want control, like ownership and control of the asset, I would have member managed. If you're going to specify somebody else to manage it, you better be very confident that they are going to do what's in your best interest, as if you allocated the assets to the LLC. So, it matters. Yeah. But it matters because I would want control of the LLC if I'm the one that, contributed the assets to it. I wouldn't necessarily want to put somebody else in control of that unless they were, extremely experienced in this space and had my best interest at heart. And I knew that. But at that point, why wouldn't you set up a trust? So I would do member managed personally. Let's see here. Scrolling on down. There's Nurse has shared the link to the Mastermind here in the chat. Appreciate you, Nurse. Here we go. Sam has asked, would a corporate trustee where the beneficiary of the trust is also the director and a part shareholder of the company safe when it comes to asset protection for liability issues? Would a corporate trustee where the beneficiary of the trust is also the director and a part shareholder of the company's safe when it comes to asset protection for liability issues? I'm having a hard time parsing out. You didn't put any commas in here to really give me or delineate between who's safe and who's not and who's got protection and where the liability falls. I'll just talk about what we normally try to set up and how it can be applicable in this situation, because we have had some of these questions in Carbon 2. So a corporate trustee would be, they could have more powers than the trustee. Well, you said corporate trustee. You didn't put the other name. Trust protector is what I'm thinking of. Trustee, where the beneficiary of the trust is also the director and part shareholder of the company. Most of the time, you'd be the grantor and you wouldn't be a beneficiary of an asset protection trust. There are circumstances where you can be one of the beneficiaries if it's structured the right way. The way that we like to set things up is you'll have an LLC that owns the assets. The equity of the LLC is held by a trust, and a portion of the assets could be moved into the trust as well. And then up here, you would have a C Corp that's a management corporation that runs and manages the LLC and has a management fee that it takes compensation for doing so. And this way, it's structured better for taxes. It's also structured where people can't get a hold of your assets and liquidate them. You get the benefit of the trust. You also get the benefit of still controlling all the assets inside of there. You're too many things. I just from what I've read here, it sounds like you're too many different things, and whoever set it up right, it's not set up correctly. I could be wrong. That's how I'm reading it. So if you want to meet with us and our team, more than happy to help you. But I think you're the director and part shareholder and beneficiary. You can't be all those things. Let's see here. Heath says Bitcoin is the government's biggest rug pull, and if you're not out before fall, good luck. I think it's going to be before the fall. Personally, I could be wrong though. ETF is a slippery slope. Yes. Let's see here. All the way down to the bottom of the chat, man. George says, with all your contacts, ... Were there any big announcements or news that came from the XRP conference? No, I went over this earlier on. Again, I got to watch some videos of the interview with Greg Kidd and with David when they were both on stage, and I thought those were insightful. But again, it just kind of reiterated what we already knew. Didn't seem to be any announcements outside of the scope of news that anybody already had. David did say that they're going to announce the name of the stablecoin that Ripple is going to launch in June at their event in Amsterdam. So I think it's like the 11th through the 13th of June where they'll announce that. But outside of that, I really didn't see or hear anything that I thought was, again, anything outside of the scope of what most people already know. Kazan says, can the trust that Digital Ascension Group sets up be used to hold a holding company that manages other businesses? Yeah, absolutely can. You're going to want to silo risks. So when you have money and resources to be able to, you're basically paying for insurance on stuff. So each type of business that you have, you're probably going to want a separate entity for it. We filed 18 separate businesses last year. Taxes. Yeah. Anyway, you do want to silo risk associated with different types of investment or different business dealings that you're going to have, acquisitions, real estate, all that stuff. Ideally, when you invest some money somewhere, if you do it through an SPV, special purpose vehicle, or you set up an entity that just handles that specifically, you're only ever liable for the amount of money that was invested to start that LLC. And obviously there could be situations where people pierce the corporate veil and come after the rest of your estate. But again, that's what the trust and everything else is set up to hedge against. So you just want to be cognizant of that. You could have, again, the way that I like to set it up, I like the corporation or the management company to be outside of the trust. There are circumstances where it could be inside the trust. But, without having further context of everything that you're doing, I don't know which is better for you. But you definitely could have a holding company inside of the trust that manages other businesses. George says, okay, that's what I gathered too, save some money. Yeah, I went last year. I had some other obligations. I had another event here in Dallas that I attended this weekend that I had, committed to long before they had announced the dates for this deal. I was hoping it would be, one more weekend. We got Mother's Day coming up next weekend, so I don't know that I would have been able to go that weekend anyway. But it seemed like a good event. Seemed like a lot of good people showed up. Seemed like people had a really good time. Happy for Brad Kimes and DAI. Glad they were able to put it on again. I think, people need some hopium, like Robin asked for earlier in the chat. Sometimes you get beat down. There's a lot of reasons to get down on yourself when things don't progress, even with all the good news that has come out over the last couple of years. And so, I do think that our day is coming very soon. And hopefully people will hang in there in order to be able to enjoy it. With that, I think I am going to go ahead and wrap it up here. As always, I appreciate everybody hopping in here and listening to me ramble on. Hopefully it's been valuable for you. If you haven't liked and subscribed, it would be, wonderful if you did that. Please share with somebody if you think it could be valuable for them. If you do like more of this, again, you can join the Mastermind group. We have discussions every Monday and Saturday in the group. A little bit more in depth than this. We talk about the private investments, and then also other things that I'm privy to that I don't share in public. And would love to have you in that group. And then again, if you want anything to do with the family office services, LLCs, trusts, the wealth management, you're more than welcome to reach out to us through digitalfamilyoffice.io, schedule a time, or just shoot us a message and we will get back to you. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for hopping in here on a Monday night, and we will see y'all on the next one.